good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host Anne, and Disembodied Hands Quindy, along with her undead servitors Justin and John. How are you all? Oh, yeah, definitely evening when that happens, Kerniko. Oh dear. Yes, yes. So actually I've got a little announcement this morning. I'll repeat it later in the stream, but as my wedding is rushing imminently upon us, I'm taking off a fair number of days since we're going to have family coming into town and guests to entertain, because weddings aren't fun for you. They're just fun for your family. So yeah, I'm taking off Thursday the 13th through Tuesday the 18th, and I'll be back on Wednesday the 19th. So I will be gone for 4 days off the stream, plus the weekend, just to corral and harangue and hang out with the family and friend people. So that'll be a thing that is going to happen and come up, just so you all know. I was going to say it's got to be Shadow Raven's birthday. That's the day that doth not exist. See, I embrace birthdays. I like birthdays, even though it means I'm getting older. It's like inevitable, so I may as well just as well accept it and get myself presents. No, Crowley, no, just no. My family are not nerdy. They are, and David's family are even less nerdy than my family. Like, at least my family has a tiny bit of nerdliness, in that my dad likes sci-fi shows and, reads science fiction. And my brother, I did run D&D for him as a kid. And, I have a nephew who's computer gamery. But, yeah, no. Everybody else would be like, eh? Plus, hello, excuse for days off. On it. Days off where I don't feel crappy? Yeah. So on it. Since I'm not taking a honeymoon, I am taking this time off. We will do a honeymoon at some point when the pupper is older and can actually have a pupper sitter. But puppers are not old enough for that yet. Where is Wolf Gray. We're going to paint our cat like a wolf. Mostly because Wolf Gray actually already has brown in it. And I need to look up actually color. Let's see here. 1 second. Google search. Don't fail me now. Okay. My fingers are going to fail me. That's pretty good. All right, so we need a kitty. I kind of like this kitty. That's a pretty cool kitty. And the big yellow eyes, yellowy green eyes, like that. A little bit more subtle than your usual tabby. Pendrake, when your puppy is considered a young puppy, less than 6 months old, where they're still teething and all that stuff, your puppy is really not old enough to have a long-term puppy sitter. I'm thinking about hiring somebody just for, a few hours so that we can go into the city and see a cool Egyptian thing at the De Young that I'm wanting really, really, really bad to see. But for any substantial honeymoon, which would involve Europe, which would probably involve Italy or France, not till over 6 months. And I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable until they were about a year old. Nice, Agent Marvel. Yeah, I was all set to get back into baking, but the dietary hiccups I've been having have set me back a little. So the reason I'm using Wolf Gray here is that, and you could easily also use something like Stone Gray. Let me see if I've got my Stone Gray. Yeah, Stone Gray is actually a pretty good shadow for Wolf Gray, so we'll probably do that. Let's actually get in focus up here a little closer to the camera. There we go. Both of these colors have brown in them. And gray in animals is typically created by a mixture of cream and black in the hair. So essentially there is a little bit of brown in it. It's not a pure like monochrome gray. And if you paint it like it is, it looks a little bit wrong. So always add a little bit of like a brown to your gray. You don't want to go like too crazy with it, and don't choose anything too yellow or it could go a little greenish. But you want to complexify your gray a little bit. So I'm going to look again at our picture. So this kid actually is a little darker. So let me see. I think I'm going to have to go with a little bit of carbon added into that. Yeah, but carbon gray definitely has a blue cast. So I'm going to be mixing in a little bit of brown. I'll probably mix in, I could mix in blackened brown, or I could mix in russet brown, or I could do a little bit of both. Muddy brown would be a great brown to use here, 9028, because it's actually kind of between. Russet brown is yellowish and blackened brown is reddish, so doing a little bit of between is actually good. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 drops of carbon gray, which is going to be our dark tone. And I'm going to actually add in a drop of the wolf gray because I don't want it quite that dark for the kitty's forehead there. And then I'm going to add in a little bit of brown. So I am going to add in a tiny touch. I'm probably going to do a half drop of russet or just a little bit squeezed onto my brush. That's just like any animal. Some animals are really photogenic and some aren't. So I squeezed out that drop and it got too big, so I put it onto my palette. There, just dropped it off there. And then I can add in a little bit of brown into this carbon. And then I'm going to add, I can even, if this works out, then I can add even just a little bit more. But I don't want carbon gray to look blue next to the wolf gray. So I'm going to add in the brown until I can see a shift toward warm. And it's no longer looking bluish next to that wolf gray. And if you want, you can take a little bit of white and add it to it and kind of look at it and make sure it's not going blue. Or you can take some extra water and kind of thin it out on your palette. And that's actually a pretty good warm gray. So I didn't need to use the black and brown. I didn't really want to use blackened because it's so dark. It would have just driven the carbon gray even darker. Now I'm going to get my wolf gray. Now wolf gray is a little lighter on the coverage sometimes, so I'm going to actually add a little extra paint. And I'm also going to add in some of my carbon gray, because carbon gray actually has excellent coverage. I'm going to take this a little darker for a start. Just like with normal skin tones, I do like to start a stage darker. That makes it a lot easier to pull the color up and create markings. So if you're going to create cool markings on your kitty cat, starting a shade darker is a good idea. So what I'm starting with here is my dark gray is for the top of the head, and then my medium gray is this medium gray around the face and down the nose. And then I can just add a white or an off-white to bring things up. And I'm just going to do a quick screenshot of this picture and save it to my photos so that I can reference it easier than keeping the search page open on the interwebs. There. Now we've got our kitty for reference. And I'm going to start by painting everything in this medium gray, and then I'm going to start adding in markings. And I also have to keep in mind my lighting, of course. It's never easy. But my zenith will help with that, especially because I've thinned this paint a little bit. pop this out of frame so that we can see the kitty. So a lot of the very fine markings you can't really do on a 28 millimeter as usual. Your detail work is going to be limited, how much you can actually fit in. So things like the really fine ghosty lines like right here, we're really not going to be able to do. But we can do the eye markings and the mouth. So this is why big models are awesome and why we need some tabaxi busts out there. Because otherwise, how are we supposed to ever be able to paint all these cool markings? Yes, and since this is a spooky necromancer, it would be an M for murder and mayhem. One thing I did need to look at is my kitty's ears. 1 second. Yeah, pale, white fur. Got it. I refuse to say necromancer, sorry. It's a necromancer. For me. You can call it whatever you want. But I like the necromancer because it sounds like pouncer. Kiki likes to pounce on her dinner. She play-bowed her food dish this morning when David was trying to lure her to her crate. He's like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "I make going to her crate a game now so that she does it. And so she's play-bowing at you because you're trying to get her to go to her crate." He was like, "Oh." You like Murder and Mayhem? Yeah, I'm into that. I'm into that, Quindy, for this cat. So we've got a nice medium gray there, and it's a good gray. It's already working very well with our purple and greenish blue. That's good. So let us put in the paw here. And we can bring in our dark gray to preserve our shadow areas where the light's just going to be darker, like where the fingers are curved over. And this. So you can kind of go back and forth a little bit with our lights and darks here on the hand. Do a little bit of a wet blend to set up. I am not going to like judge you for it. I just don't want to like. I want to create our own meme. I don't want to use somebody else's. Sometimes I just don't want to use somebody else's meme. All right. But yes, remember, unjudge. Hashtag, I don't judge anybody else. I try hard. Because judgy is just ugly. I especially love people who like read things on the internet, but they don't read all of it, and so then they just judge based on what they've read instead of reading the whole thing. That was happening this morning in the dog group. I was just like rolling my eyes. All right, let's see here. So pretty much just blocking in like just over the top of the zenith. blocking in our shadow areas and our highlighter areas. Yeah, when they only read the title. I know that's even worse, right? These people, I think, only read the first sentence. Or, like, they skimmed the first, like, couple sentences and then they proceeded to judge. Happily, although they hang out in our Shiloh Shepherd community, they're actually people from, like, not from our organization. So at least it's not people from our organization being judgy. All right, a little bit on the knuckles back here. I want to preserve a bit of that zenith with our first coat. Yeah, Blood Wrath. Or they just read the Wikipedia. They skim the Wikipedia article on the book, a synopsis. I just never get the whole read the title thing. Like, because so many titles are so clickbait and deceiving now, like, so deceptive. Like, they're just trying to get you to, like, click on their thing. And so you really, like, when you actually read the article, it's just, like, not at all. So I cannot see just reading the title alone. I would think that you would be horribly misinformed in doing so. I do not like the clickbait. Although I suppose, clickbait, quote unquote, has been going on for a while, as, newspapers have certainly had a history of doing sensationalist headlines to get reads. So it's not like it's new. All right, so we're going to put stripes in later, but first I want to get the highlights and shadows in here. Markings come after. Basic highlight and shading on the fur and a general wet blend comes first. Interesting, Miss Dim. Yeah, nowadays it must be pretty rampant, I would think, that if you are a teacher and you're not doing that, like for your students to just like read the Cliff Notes or read the Wikipedia synopsis of the plot and try to coast. So there's a shadow here, and that's why that area stays darker. Okay, got that. Gotta get the legs and the tummy here. Hey, Lasana. Twice the views on YouTube. That's ridiculous. Because that's the most boring part. Like, the most boring part of any, like, Anne stream is when you're starting a whole new model. So I'm going with a slightly darker color in here. We do have little paw wrap down here, I think. Yeah, exactly. Like, people are just going to Reaper's thing, and it's like new mini, and they just click on it, and then it's not a new mini. Well, it might be new to them. Yeah, but I don't know. I always wonder at people who kind of wander through life, never really getting very deep into it, like very shallowly, like kind of coasting through the internet like that. It kind of just like, it's like coasting through life like it's a party and you're just sliding by and every once in a while grabbing an hors d'oeuvre off of a platter, but you never see the real menu and you never actually sit down to dinner. It's like weird. All right, so we got our gray base here. A little bit darker than up top because there's not as much light down here. I'm going to start with the dark on the paws down here. The carbon gray mix. I'll probably bring the paws up, although I don't know that I want to bring them up to white. Oh, okay, so this is a bracer on the front of the paw. I see the fur on the back. Fur on the back is definitely dark because of all this overhanging fabric. But yeah, though gray cats often do have white paws, I think I'm going to keep dark paws on this kitty because he's like moody. There we go. I am going to want a bit of, let's see, I want to do a mix. Let's try this. I might need to actually go get my brown liner from the other room, but for shadows and lining on this, I'm actually going to use a mixture of gray liner and brown liner, although in this case it'll be Rogue Shadow, because that's what I've got. And this is definitely one of the times I would use gray liner when I'm lining an actual gray creature. And I would definitely add some brown into it, just like we added brown into our other grays. So I'll do 2 drops of gray liner and a drop of Rogue Shadow and see how that comes back. Maybe another drop of gray liner. So I want to have at least 4 drops. I have been known to interject a hashtag into normal conversations if I am making a memeing statement or trying to joke about it. I'm going to pop a drop of water into that liner, and then let's see what that color turns. So this should turn into kind of a dark brownish gray now, which should be perfect for our necromancer. My Valendar? Yeah, that's a pretty good gray. Mostly I just don't want a bluish gray here. Now I need to use my liner color to do things like line the fingers and between the toesies. I also color in the claws with dark before I put little touches of off-white on them later on. So I'm going to block that in dark, all the little claws. And I'll usually add a shadow around the base of the foot. This model is a really good candidate for cork base because it's got such a small plain base. It'd be very easy to bury this and create a cooler, bigger base for it. So big shadow. I'm just going to put a big shadow down here. Neat. You're like seriously kitted out, Nest Imp. Any weather station thing would get very bored here in the South Bay. We are about to head into a pretty boring period of weather. Although we'll see. I have hopes for like a bit more rain this winter. So Papa will be sad if she can't get her fishing pole. So maybe the rain should hold off until after Papa's done teething. Kinda, weather nerd. I don't know that it's already taken Pendrake. I think it's repurposing. I think it happens naturally with language and with culture. And earlier generations, like, word gets adopted to mean a slightly different, slightly different thing, just a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of light gray in here. But here's where I probably want to stop and come back and do a bit of texture. So I'm going to not put too much highlighting on that. And I need to start mixing up some actual highlight colors as well. Bring out the little toesies. Those are a little bit too much. Yeah, exactly, Kerniko. Language is very, very fluid. Isn't a fine enough measurement. Yeah, it makes sense you'd be into weather if you're into RC planes, because, in order to fly, you'll want to assess conditions, right? So you don't damage your cool plane. There we are. So the question is, Miss Dimpt, is do you paint your planes? Like, does your mini painting hobby and your RC plane hobby cross over? Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely multi-classed geeks. I agree. I'm going to get out my white again because I want to do a little bit of underpainting in a bit. And I want to make sure I remember those bracers down there and figure out what color I want to make them. And to do that, I'll do a little bit of a white edge just to remind myself that those areas need to be painted. Oh, yeah, I bet. Yeah, the bigger RCs can be. You're right. People can get hurt. For a while, the Reaper crew was into RC stuff. I think I remember, if I might be wrong here, but I kind of remember when we first built the warehouse, that before it was all built out inside, like Ed and Matt and Kevin would come out and fly their RC planes in the warehouse because it was still right. It was guarded against the wind. Oh, as far as not actual friction, like is there like community friction between drones and RC planes? I don't know. I would think the two hobbies would fit pretty well into each other, like as far as people kind of liking both. Alrighty, I want to put a little bit of a sketch in here. Get this little bracer thing kind of outlined, just so I don't forget it. When you've got gray and gray and gray and more gray, it can be easy to forget details, so I'm just going to block in this bracer, and then I won't forget it. Alright, so we've got our two little paw guards. I'm sure that on an individual basis, you've got some people who just really hate the drones for that reason, but let's see here. I want a little line around fingers and hands. You guys already know my other geekeries are dogs writing and a tiny bit of crocheting at this point, which is annoying me. Like, unfortunately, all the computer games are coming out because it's it's that time of year, and just so I'm being pulled away from my knitting project I wanted to start now that the puppy is a little bit more manageable in the evenings. I have a pretty scarf I want to knit, but I have to find time. Just a little bit of lining here between the fingers just to bring them out. Ah, okay. Scale RC people paint. I see. Line between the fingers. If you're a little messy, it's not a big deal. You're going to come back and highlight anyway. I also line on the inside. And that got very messy, but that's okay. Bring that a little bit in. All right, now it's time. Well, first it's time to see if I need to line anything up here on the face, but I think I preserved my initial zenith pretty well. Still, I can bring in my liner and accentuate these eyeballs. Yeah, see, I like RC boats. They're kind of cool. Oh, got a little bit too much lining on that eye. I wanted to make them a little slantier so that he was looking a little bit more evil. But that is fine. We can just grab our white and refill in. There we go. Start bringing out a bit of an expression here. Got to get the nose etched in. It's a very tiny little nose on this kidda. So I don't know if we're going to be able to fill it in pink or not. We can try. But it's going to be really tiny, so I doubt it. I feel bad for the falcon. It thinks it's going to get a meal, and instead it just gets, you know, a bunch of crappy machinery. Good luck recovering any wreckage from a really pissed off swan. I don't think that's going to happen. There, he's looking pretty good here, actually. I'm going to accentuate this eyebrow. It can be challenging when there's fur texture sculpted to start to bring out an expression, but you just are trying to paint in very much in generalities. And when you've got a nice big set of eyes like this, it can be a little bit easier to kind of make one of them kind of squinting and one of them more big, and so that he looks like he's, you know, got a kind of wicked expression. All right, so let's get the top of the head here figured out. So here we've got 3 dark marks that we need to put in, and then there's broader dark going back that way. And the let's grab our carbon gray here. So we've got a dark area right here. May not be able to do all the dark marks because I'm trying to preserve the expression here, but let's see. Maybe and maybe. So now we've got 3 little dark marks. I just had to bring them up further. I wasn't able to put the dark marks down right on the eyes. I had to bring them up. And then I've got to put in the light marks around them. So once I've got my 3 marks, I'm just going to fill in some light markings around them to make them a little more striking. And then bring in more of my gray. On the back of the ears. And more on the top of the head. And look at how much expression that already brings out on the face. So block in a bit of dark on the back here. We know that most of the back of the head is going to be darker. So I'm actually bringing in my carbon gray mix. That way I can highlight it with my wolf gray mix. And I need to figure out what I'm going to paint the little sleeves in here. And little bracers down here. If I'm going to go black, if I'm going to go something different. Need to tone down that particular little white stripe. There. It's kind of a cool swirl on this kitty's head, so maybe I'll take the lighter color here and kind of do a little bit of a marking up top like that, which our model kitty does have. So pretty much I've taken the markings that are right up front on our model cat's face and I've moved it back on the head, up and back on the head of this model, so that I can still have the markings. They're a little bit in a different place, but they're still there. They're still recognizable. because you can't, with the face and how close it is and that you want to preserve the expression, you don't have a lot of room in there to put a lot of these markings in, so you've got to adapt. Now, I want to get the mouth a little bit lighter. I think I'm going to mix a mixture of both gray and white now to do some of these lighter colors. As I drop my brush, because that's the kind of day it is. One second while I salvage that. There we go. Cats are always up to something, but like they don't often look like they're up to something. This guy definitely does. All right, so let's do a mix. Wolf gray. Inflatable flying shark. And then one drop of white. Oh, they're probably formulating evil plans in their heads, but you know, while they're sleeping. But yeah. I'll just put another drop in there. So now I've got a light gray. And I can get that lower lip. Kind of look and see where this kitty, yep, all white. I do want a little bit of a white marking on the lower part of the eye and around the eye. You can see on our kitty, there's a little white stripe there underneath the eye. So I'm going to grab a little bit of our light gray there and a little tiny bit of white to that. Get a little bit of that white stripe in there. This also serves to kind of frame the eye and draw attention to it. Ugh, something in the air today is just making my eyes like water, which is not helping my aim with the brush. The allergies are kicking in for reals lately out here. That's funny. So adding a white stripe under the eye right next to that dark, essentially fulfills the same purpose that freehand does. So by putting in light and dark very close to each other and in a very tight, like detailed manner, you're essentially pulling the eye toward it, just like when you are doing freehand. It's the same kind of thing. It's tight clusters of tight detail, and it accomplishes the same thing. I think I do want to grab my dark gray and put a little bit of a dark stripe coming off of that inner corner of the eye. I need to add a tiny bit of liner to that. Kind of like a cheetah. And if your line gets too broad, just bring in your light and narrow it by putting the light next to it. I like the shape up there. It like makes it look like he's like got painted his fur in patterns and runes. Arcane designs. I want lighter fur on the inside of the ears. And then we're going to bring out lighter fur on his little poofs on the side of his head here too. And often with a hand sculpted figure as opposed to a 3D sculpt, especially with 28s, you'll find the detail is a little bit finer on the hand sculpted figure, especially with fur, which can be a real beast to do, I've been told, in 3D modeling. And a lot of the times it's very simplified and chunky. But this fur has some pretty fine little bits on it. Never too late, though, Twisted Oma. I mean, David never had a pet growing up because his mom was allergic. And he loves Kiki. He played with her for like 20 minutes this morning with their fishing pole. Alright, so lightening up the whiskers there, the little furs on the inside of the ear, the floofs. So I think this week is Kiki's last puppy preschool. And she'll be too old for it. Which is kind of good because I feel like the play dates aren't like, they're just really chancy because if there isn't a dog that's Kiki's energy level, then she doesn't get to have any fun. I think that's always the danger. So I'm going to make the dark edges, the ears dark, and that'll give us contrast too. Also give him a darker, more wicked look. So really mapping in markings just a little bit at a time. Trying to look at the effect we're getting. Made a little bit of a darker shadow here now down near the base of the head on the ears. I don't know. I think summon treats, you know. Pretty sure we're charming our pets with food anyway. Gonna bring in just a little bit of a suggestion of fingers here. Now I want to bring in lighter color too on the paws and the feet. After all, since the face is so light, and bring in a little bit more there. Yeah, see? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure food is magic when it comes to animals. Although I think Kiki likes play better than food. Because, like, she likes treats, but she really gets excited when I make it fun. Like, treats alone are not Kiki's, like, happiest place. But treats, when mommy is being silly or playful, then it's fun. Then it's fun. So every evening to get her to go into her bedtime crate, we'd play, like, pounce on mommy's hand with the treat in it. I'd essentially lure her into the bedroom with it. But it has to be fun. Like, I can't just hold the treat and lure her into the bedroom. I have to actually, like, hide it and get down on the floor so that she can pounce on it. He's trying to cast summon morsel, Cornico. Kiki pounces like a cat, so if you can imagine, like, a 32-pound pouncing giant fluffy puppy cat, then you'll have a mental image of Kiki doing her play. Playpen for Kiki, Miss Dim? It's actually I invested the one that we have in the evenings, which is in our computer and hobby room, is a metal one. Is actually like a welded metal frame. So it's a heavy duty pen. that has, we bought 2 extra panels for it, so it's got 8 panels, so it's able to be like 16 square feet, and I can kind of, because it pins together. Actually, this is one of the pins, so it's a big metal, pretty heavy frame with a lighter wire interior and drop pins to put it together. And the drop pins make it possible, because it's just wiggly then, you can just shape it long, or you can shape it square or round. It wasn't like cheap, but it was like, it looked durable and high quality, and so far it has not disappointed. It's indoor or outdoor. It has little rubber things to put on its drop pins so that it won't hurt the floor. I'm going to get these feet highlighted up a little bit, but I'm going to thin my light gray paint, though. I need it to be a little bit more translucent. I don't want it to be real strong on the feet. But yeah, so she's pretty good there. I use a crate for the bedroom, and I use a crate for right now. Like, she has a big crate in the living room, and that's where she kind of hangs out while I work, because I want to be able to have her be secure if I have to leave the house and the playpen is not secure enough. If she was really determined, she could knock it over or get out, or worse, get herself caught on it, and that would be bad. But it's good for the evening when we're just playing computer game and hobbying, to have her in there with her shoe. But yeah, and then she has a bedtime crate. Again, so that she's secure in it. So we have many puppy containment devices scattered throughout the house. Eventually, she'll graduate out of all of it, and that how soon she does that will just depend on her maturity level. Oh, I see. Yeah. I've seen the thick plastic ones, and I've seen wooden ones, and I've seen all sorts. I like this metal one. It's not like super travelable. We do have an X pen, just one of the normal wire ones that we set up in the living room just to keep her on one side of the living room, because when she was being housebroken, if she could go on the other side, she would go to the far corner to try to pee. So we've just been slowly moving the X pen across the room to open up more and more of the room to her, so eventually she just like is used to the whole room and it's no longer a factor. She's pretty much housebroken now, but I believe in taking things gradually, because if you go too fast and then you have a fail, then you've kind of been set back. Alrighty. Yeah, and whether your dog will be able to chew through it, I mean, really, are you looking for something to leave your dog alone in, or are you looking for something to just have your dog in while you're like making supper and you still want them around you, right? I mean, if you're around the dog, then the dog's not going to eat the crate because you're going to be able to keep half an eye on the dog. But if you are looking for a secure containment for when you leave the house, I mean, I always opt for crates in that case, because it's the most secure, and I feel like my animal is safe. So all of our puppies were crate trained. And with Kiki, she did not like the crate until I got her the big one. Until I had the 48-inch, but I had a barricade in there to separate it out. Once I removed the barricade so she could have the whole crate, she suddenly would go into her crate no problem, and she liked it a lot more. So it was just a matter of making her feel like she had enough room. She still does not love it, but she will deal with it. Like, it's part of the routine now. I'll highlight these little toes. There we go. We've got our feet showing up. We gotta get these legs too. So yeah, really it's like how much time will you have to supervise them in whatever containment device you're using. Like with the puppy, I'm going to hear if she does any shenanigans, like while I'm painting or playing computer games. I always keep my headphones off one ear so that I can hear what she's doing, and we check on her in between games or parts of the game. All right, I'm going to go to the highlight color here because I want to suggest a little bit of fur color. Oh yeah, play area. Yeah, I mean, plastic should be fine then. I mean, it's, it really just depends on the dog. The plastic ones can be pretty solid. I mean, you could try just a cheapo wire X pen. I think they're the least expensive. I mean, the big thing is just to make sure they've got a lot of busy toys in there. Puppy gets a treat ball in her crate, and she gets a bully stick. Usually she also gets like a Whimsy's chew or a dental chew in there. And she gets at least one stuffed animal before I put her in the crate. So she's got a lot to do when she gets in there. And then usually once she works her way through playing with all of that, she's actually pretty sleepy. And she'll fall asleep. So hard to do a lot of fur texture here. Got a little bit of it suggested. Ah. Yeah. She takes a bit, but since we got the flirt pole, it's been easy. I should knock on wood when I say that. Yeah, she's getting older now. She's going to hit her 16 weeks mark. I always lose track of what week we're on at this point. This is the time that Anne loses track of how old her puppy is. Because you've got like the 4 months mark, but then you've got like soon you start counting in months, right? Like after 16 weeks, you're no longer counting in weeks, and you're counting in months instead. But yeah, now that we've got our fishing, our deep sea puppy fishing pole, as we call it. Yeah, and then it all evens out. Yeah, I was really happy when she really took to the flirt pole toy. It really lets us tire her out, and like she's so much less bitey, like immensely less bitey. Like I didn't actually get any fresh wounds yesterday from puppy teeth. And she settles down a lot nicer too. Because walks are still a work in progress, and of course she's not fully vaccinated, but you know I don't care so much about that. But it's more that walking her is still a challenge because there's strange dogs all over in our neighborhood. There's a lot of cars, there's a lot of bicycles and carriages and everything, which is great, but it really overstimulates her in a short period of time. So long walks are not on the docket for her yet. Oh, it's a flirt pole, butts. So here, I'll show you. This is a genius thing, and you should buy one. Where's my Amazon? 1 second. Anybody with a bigger, and the company that makes this one is the best constructed one. It's from a company called Squishy Face. Let me get it up on the Amazon. And okay. Squishy Face Studio Flirt Pole with lure. It is a PVC. It's very sturdy, and it's got a good heft. You definitely want to use the wrist strap so that it doesn't, like, the problem is this is a bungee. So if your dog is pulling on this end and you accidentally let go, it will launch the pole at them. So definitely use your little wrist strap. But it's like 3 feet long, and then the bungee, extends really far. So essentially you really quickly move the, swing the lure around. And this one is the one with the squeakers. It's got squeakers in the tips. And you can choose either a squeaker or not, and you can choose a shorter one if you have a smaller dog. And you essentially just stand in the middle and you move the lure around and keep it close to the ground, because if you, well, at least if you have a puppy. So like there's your picture. But it's great because you can move it around in a big circle and your dog will just chase it. Yeah, Kiki does get a little obsessive about it, but yeah, this is a really nice, this is a really nice quality one, the squishy face one. And it's like 27 bucks, 28 bucks. Worth it. Worth it. So Kiki will sit and just want it. Like she will just, yeah, it's just a dog fishing pole. We call it our deep sea dogfish fishing pole. But yeah, the biggest thing is if you've got a puppy, make sure to keep the lure like on the ground or really close to it, because you don't want your pup to be jumping a lot. It's not good for their joints as they grow. So do that, and also give them rest time, because if they get really obsessive about it, like Kiki does, I actually have to take it up and let it just totally hang limp and nothing happens, or she'll forget to drink water and rest. So definitely giving her like breaks when we're playing, but seriously, like real lifesaver. It takes the edge off of her, and she's a lot less bitey, and she's a lot more, she calms down in her crate a lot more easily. And of course you can do it in your backyard, so you're not risking, you know, parvo or whatever else you might be worried about with an undervaccinated pup. There are other companies that sell them. They have a whole bunch of different lures out there for them, but I just like the simple one, honestly. You get these claws. But yeah, Keekster will go at, she'll play with that flirt pole for a solid 15-20 minutes. Like, she will just be on it. Yeah, the laser pointer is definitely can be obsessive, and they will like get really they'll get really into this toy as well. But Kiki's, I mean, she's pretty focused, but if we put it up and just make it clear, we put it on top. We have a bike shed, so we just lay it on top of our bike shed. But you can just remove it from the area and make sure they have some water and rest and stuff. But she's not too bad about it. She loves to play with it, but she's not totally obsessive about. I had a cat who got obsessive about the laser pointer too, so I'm not a fan, but I am a fan of this. And the nice thing about this is that you as a human are more active with it, like you are more involved with it. It depends on how much chase drive your dog has, Agent Marble, but Kiki has a crap ton from the Wetterhound outcross. She really has a lot. She loves things that move. So yeah, and unlike the laser pointer where I'd feel like I was just sitting in the chair and none of me was moving, I'm actively involved in moving the lure and the rod, and so she knows that I'm playing with her. Like, it feels much more like I'm playing with her for both of us. So I really like this this toy. The biggest challenge is moving it just fast enough that she can't get it easily, but not like too fast where she's gonna like try to reverse really fast and hurt herself. So some dogs get really into it, and you have to judge how your dog is tackling it and kind of adjust to their play style. Ah, too much nose. But yeah, the flirt pole's been a thing for a while. I just never had one. I never used one with my past dogs because I didn't really have a dog that like needed it, I guess. Like, our past dogs were very like, they weren't like Kiki. Kiki's got a little bit more energy and a bit more drive. So Kiki loves it, and it's a great toy for her. But yeah, so I'd say if you have a dog that really loves moving objects, like if you've got a dog that like you can toss a frisbee or a ball, and the dog really is interested while the toy is moving, but then they lose interest when it stops, then getting a flirt pole is maybe a good decision. And you don't need much room to use it outdoors. Like, we don't have a very large yard. You just have just enough grass for a dog. Yeah, my past dogs really like to fetch, and Kiki will fetch, but she gets sick of it, whereas, you know, because I'm just throwing the thing, and then I'm just standing there, right? Like, she really likes the fact that we are, like, involved in the play with her. I get the feeling. Because Kiki is all about us. Like, when it comes down to it, she wants to be playing with us, interacting with us. And so the fishing pole helps with that. Yeah, puppy will always want you to play the chase game. Yeah, that will come get this from me game, which you never should, of course. Because once you get into that chase game, then that chase game, you know, pops up a whole bunch when you don't want it, like when you want your puppy to come inside and stuff like that. The ground rule that I've heard dog trainers use is that your puppy should always be chasing you. You should never be chasing your puppy. So I kind of did that with Kiki. I invite her to chase me to the door to go inside, and then that's fun, and stuff like that. I invite her to chase me into the bedroom for her nighttime crate and stuff like that. It seems to work really well. She enjoys it. Yeah, yeah. See, every time you reinforce that behavior bots, they're gonna try it again. Those dogs are opportunists. It's all right. See if you can get her to chase you. See if you can get her to turn it around. And then make sure you've got a treat if she does. Make it exciting. Like, when she was a baby puppy, I just, like, was like, oh my gosh, and I ran back to the door every time I wanted her to come inside. Like, and I just, like, did little play jumps before I did it, so it was super exciting. And then when she comes inside, she gets a puppy party, and we give her a couple of pieces of chicken. So, like, she loves to come inside because it's always a puppy party. So, like, yeah, once you don't have to do it, like, all the time forever. It's more like get it into being a habit thing. It'll eventually get to the point where as long as she's got a treat when she comes inside, she'll be happy. And we always give her a treat for coming inside nicely. But yeah, dogs love that whole, you know, chase me game. Yep. Yeah, when you've got an older dog, that helps a lot, right? I don't, so my Kiri passed away a bit ago. I decided I wanted to raise a puppy from ground zero again with no older dog influence. Now I'm regretting my choice. No, not really. It is kind of nice to just have it be just me and one puppy, having had multiple dogs for many years. But yeah, I'm glad I like reread a lot of my puppy training books before I got the puppy because things like running to the door to get her to come in and making it a party when she does, it's like, it's just golden. Like, I never have to worry about her coming inside. She will always come inside. Kiki, I hear you in there. She's like, it's 11. Aren't you done yet? She's squeaking at me. All right, so we've got a pretty cool facial expression. We've got claws and paws. Oh my. And we've pretty much got the fur mocked in. I haven't done tail markings yet. Oh, Keekster, you just hang on. Let's do a dark stripe and dark stripe. Do a little bit of striping with my dark color. You hang out, Keekster. She just wants to go out. Probably needs to use the bathroom, and she probably needs to get some water. But we're almost done. Make the tip really dark, except I'll give him a little white tip at the tip of his tail. And we'll end up putting a little bit of fur texture in here too. But not yet. Bye, Crowley. Yeah, David took a really good video of Kiki chasing the fishing pole yesterday, but he didn't forward it to me yet. Papa, settle down. You have to wait till I'm done. But we're pretty much getting there. Now the squeaking and the barking will start. I don't know how she knows. Like, it's not like I've, like, put on my it's the end of the stream voice yet. Like, I was kind of trying to pay attention to that yesterday. I'm like, how does she know that it's almost time? Because dogs really are not supposed to have a great temporal sense. Like, in most cases where they think dogs, like, were telling time, they've demonstrated that it was just like an auditory cue, like a truck that always went by at the same time every day, or things like that. So I don't know. Maybe dogs do have a better sense of time than we think. Kiki seems to certainly know when it's getting to the time of the end of my stream. And technically, like, she shouldn't unless I'm doing something predictable. Unless it's that I always say goodbye to Crowley. Because all it takes is a little bit. But that's usually not. Like, Architeuthis, they've actually done, like, some studies on this and determined that it's actually not that your dog, like, knows that you're going to come home, but it's something else that your dog knows is associated with it. Like, maybe a school bus drives by, you know, like 5 minutes before you get home. And so, or something like that. So when your dog hears that noise, they know that it's close to when you come home, and so then they're waiting. Like, so that's like, they've tried to do studies on this. It's really hard to do a study on this sort of thing, though. So, but that's, right now, that's what science thinks, is that actually most, instead of an internal clock, so to speak, it's more a triggered response. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, Kiki doesn't necessarily know that it's time to end my stream unless she's noticed something that I haven't. Dogs are really sensitive to cues, so like I said, I say goodbye to Crowley every day, and Shadow Raven usually goes and gets lunch. So maybe Kiki has learned that when I start saying goodbye, then it's time. It is possible. I'll have to pay attention tomorrow and see. Interesting, Valendar. Yeah, maybe. Right, yeah. Yeah, it could be anything. I mean, dogs are really sensitive to body language. They're really sensitive to sound cues, you know, and they hear a lot more than we do because their hearing is so much better than ours. So it could be a cue that they're hearing that we can't even hear, right? For all we know. For all we know, the neighbor's garage door is opening every day at this time, and Kiki has learned that when she hears that, you know, down the block, which I can't hear, it's time for me to stop the stream. I have no idea. It's so hard to quantify. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, who knows, Valendar? Who knows? It's interesting, and I kind of wish they'd do a little more science on it. Striped tail. And now I'm going to do a little bit of stuff on the back of the head here. I'll do a little bit of lighter fur. A little bit of lighter fur. Just a little bit of highlighting. But yeah, Kiki wants to go out and play with her fishing pole. I mean, I like calling it magic too, but I also just like, I like science. I think that I like animal behavioral studies because animals always surprise us. And it's interesting stuff. I think this kitty always got made fun of for his stripy tail when he was younger, and that turned him to evil. I hear a puppy fussing up. All right, so I'm kind of liking this. This looks pretty good. I think his face looks really good, so I'm happy with that. And I've got to get a little of this. There we go. He's not evil, just misunderstood. He just wants all the cat toys, all of them. The barks have started. The barks. He looks cranky, yes. He's not grumpy cat cranky though. He's actually like kind of wicked, like. I don't think so, green users. I haven't, but we haven't done it enough. I've only done one afternoon stream since, and that's also Saturday, so it's a little bit different. It's a different routine. Like David is home, right? So like last Saturday, she was actually in the other room with David, so it's a little bit different. Oh my, the fussing. Oh my, the fussing. There we go. All right, I think we're going to call it there. We got the fur mapped in, so that's nice. I think we do need some brown tones, like some earthy tones on this. So I think I'm going to end up going brown with some of the, like the leather and the wood here, just to introduce a little bit of grounding colors. Sometimes I find if a model goes too gray, where you don't have any browns at all in it, it feels a little weird to me. Like it feels like it needs them. So yeah, he's definitely got a kind of like, face going on. So he's like, haha, I will get you. Yeah. So yeah, we'll work a little bit more on fine tuning that. We'll get his eyes in. We'll need to figure out what color. Probably a bright yellow-green or green-yellow, I think, is what I'm going for. So yeah, the Keekster is over the top. Over the top. Yep. Thanks very much, everybody. Tomorrow, we are back to the Misty lady. We're doing some NMM, and I also want to tune her hair a little bit more and get some more of that gray mapped in. I need to figure out if we're going to do any little freehand on her cloak or not, or if we're just going to go for it, and her leather needs highlighting. We got all sorts of stuff to do on her. So tomorrow will be our Ghostwalker lady. Yeah, Kiki is quite insistent. She's like, you are done. Whether you think you're done or not, you are so done. So yes, thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Good luck with your pupsters and kitsters. And yeah, I'll see you guys later, all right? Have a good one. Bye-bye.